Maybe you didn't make it to the grocery store this week and the refrigerator shelves are looking pretty bare. Maybe you're trying to use what you have on hand and save some money. There are just a myriad of reasons why you might want some really delicious pantry-only shelf cooking meals. Welcome to Meals with Maria. Today we are making white chicken chili, Grandma Bertha's Dominican rice and beans, pumpkin pancakes, and Moroccan chickpea quinoa salad. These recipes will show you that you don't have to have a lot to cook with a lot of love. We're starting off by making a white chicken chili purely from the pantry. This is absolutely delicious. The family loved it, and you would have never known that it came all from pantry cooking. I'm starting off with 2 cans of, it says white beans, but I just had pinto beans and Great Northern beans, so I poured those into my colander and rinsed them off. Whatever type of white beans or pinto beans that you have are going to taste delicious in this. That's why it's an amazing pantry meal, because you can just use what you have. You just want to rinse those beans really well, and then we're going to add 10 ounces of canned chicken right into that, and that will just drain right into the colander, so it makes it super simple. You want to do the same thing with 1 can of corn, and now you have most of your ingredients all ready to go. Place your beans, corns, and chicken into a medium pot, and then we're going to add 1 16-ounce jar of salsa. So you can use whatever heat that you want on this. I'm just using mild because my kids are going to eat it and they are sensitive to spicy things. Then you can just fill your salsa jar with water. That will get the rest of the salsa out, and it will pour in 2 cups of water into your chili. You also want to add about a teaspoon of cumin, and then optionally, I decided to add in 1 can of diced, drained green chilies. If you don't have to use those, the original recipe does not have it, but I had it in my cabinet, so I figured, you know what, why not? Why not zhuzh it up and add something a little extra? Go ahead and bring this up to a boil, and then cover and cook on simmer for 15 minutes. You want to lower that temperature to a medium low. And this is your delicious chili. There is so much flavor in this. It is absolutely amazing. It is delicious as is. I just used some tortilla strips from Dollar Tree. I also added in some firecracker sea salt from Auntie Nono's, which I do have a discount code down below for if you're interested in, some shredded cheese, and sour cream. And like I said, it was a big hit with everybody. Benny had 2 servings.
No, I need to mix it up. 10 out of 10. Is
that good?
That means it's
And how could I forget to mention, I mean, this was like 20 minutes start to finish. It is such a great weeknight meal, so inexpensive, such a winner. For this next one, we're making a Moroccan chickpea quinoa salad. This is so different, but so flavorful and delicious, and all from pantry ingredients. You want to start by heating about 1/2 tablespoon of oil in a saucepan. And then to that, I'm just adding 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt with a sprinkle of black pepper. And I'm just going to cook that until fragrant. Then add in 1 cup of uncooked quinoa, followed by 2 cups of broth. The original recipe calls for vegetable broth or water, but I happen to have beef broth hanging around, and I just wanted to use it from my fridge, so you can go ahead and use that. But, you know, real pantry staple on this would be just to use chicken bouillon. So you could use 2 cups of water and 2 cubes or 2 teaspoons of chicken bouillon, and that would be delicious in this. Bring this mixture to a boil, then cover and reduce heat to low, and you want to cook for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you want to remove it from heat. Fluff the quinoa up with a fork and add in 1 can of drained chickpeas and 2/3 a cup of dried cranberries, or in my case, I didn't have those, so I just used raisins, and that was really good in this too. If you want to, you can add some dried parsley, and when you serve it, you can add 1/2 cup, or you can just add them over the top, your choice of how you want to do it, of sliced toasted almonds. This was really good and something very different from what I am used to having. So I love trying it, and I definitely think it's worth a shot, especially if you're looking for a great, different and made with love family pantry meal. 2 things I love about these pumpkin pancakes: no egg, and they don't taste like those crazy pumpkin flavored stuff. They're just pumpkin-y enough, just enough flavor, and they're so simple. So we're going to start off with 1 2/3 a cup of pancake mix. To that, you want to add 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you have it, you can do pumpkin pie spice, but I think that would be what makes it kind of more of that pumpkin pie-y flavor. I actually just used 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg and left it at that. Then you're going to need 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree, 2 cups of milk, and 1/4 cup of oil. And I am considering this a pantry meal because I always keep shelf-stable milk on hand in my pantry, which I recommend you do too. It's a super easy way to be able to have milk when you need it. Now the batter did feel a little bit thin to me, so I did add another third of a cup of pancake mix to this, and mine came out nice and fluffy, so it might be closer to 2 cups. I know that kind of varies depending on the temperature and climate that you live in, so kind of feel it out, make it sure that it feels right for you. And then I am using butter, but you can use cooking spray, you can use Crisco, you can use oil, whatever you want to cook up these pancakes. I should have done them in a griddle, but I had them on a pan because my griddle broke a while ago and it's on the list, guys. But hey, here we are cooking some delicious pancakes in a pan, you know, the usual way that you cook pancakes. I don't know if there's anything fancy about this. I like to cook mine over more of like a medium-low heat versus a higher heat because I feel like they don't cook like too fast on the outside and not enough on the inside, right? You want to make sure they cook all the way through without burning on the outside. And like I said, nice and light and fluffy and delicious. You would never know that these didn't have any egg in them or anything, and they are just amazing. Ben absolutely loved them. Tommy loved them, so they are a win in our house. And it made a bunch of them. I like to freeze these and then just heat them up in the microwave like 30 seconds or pop them in the toaster, and they are a perfect snack or breakfast. I may have saved the best for last. This is Grandma Bertha's Dominican rice and beans. This is a recipe that I got from a friend of mine. It is a family recipe. She says that in her family, cooking is like how you show that you love somebody. And I feel like that's kind of how it is around my house too. So I love the family recipes that are passed down from generation to generation, and you can like really feel the love in there. I am just using 1 pound of dried black beans, and I am covering them almost to the top in my Dutch oven. So you really want to fill this with quite a bit of water, maybe like 16 cups of water. It's quite a bit. And then I shook in generously some garlic powder and onion powder. If you have fresh garlic and onion, go ahead and just throw cubed onion in there and a bunch of cloves of garlic. And we're going to cook this up for 2 hours. So I actually brought it up to a boil, then brought it down to a simmer and cooked it for 2 hours. And you want to cook it until those beans are basically like, I'd say al dente. They're not like quite mushy and popping open, but they are pretty well cooked. That is the broth for this recipe. And this is kind of the key to it. You saw that earlier. It was like a dark rice and beans. Using that broth is where a lot of the flavor comes from, the bean broth itself. I put 2 cups of rice in the bottom of my pan here. If you want, you can just use that whole broth pan and then use an entire pound of rice and make a ton of it. But I just actually was running out of rice. So you want to add 2 cups of that white rice and then 2 cups of that bean broth. And I actually added a little bit extra because I really felt like it was going to absorb in there, which it did, because I'm also going to add beans. So I'm adding my beans into the pot because they're going to cook kind of the rest of the way now. And you can add as many as you like. I added like, I don't know, 4 spoonfuls of them, whatever felt like the right amount. A lot of this is kind of cooking with your intuition and cooking with your heart. And there's not like an amazing recipe. I will write one down in the description box for you so you can try and follow, but you really have to go with intuition on this and just feel it out. If you are just like love family recipes, make sure to give this video a like. If you're not like fully pantry cooking and you have stuff on hand, you want to throw a big bunch of chopped cilantro in at this point. I did not obviously have fresh cilantro. If you have dried, you can add that too. Same thing with some onion powder and garlic powder. The key to this recipe is not only this delicious bean broth, but also sofrito and sazon seasonings. Now, I could have maybe said those wrong. I was trying to kind of say them correctly. So if I pronounce it wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not Dominican. But these are found in kind of the international section. I'm using 3 packets of this Sazon Goya seasoning. And apparently there's like all different flavors. And my friend said, doesn't matter which kind, just use them. Have at it. So there's also these Goya containers. So there's a green one that's a cilantro one, and then there's a red one, and they're like a cooking base. I'm going to use about half of each of these jars, but these are so amazingly full of flavor. Like if you've never cooked with those before and you like to have some rice and beans on the side when you're making tacos or enchiladas or something like that, go ahead and grab some of those bases. If you add those to your rice, you will not be disappointed. Like it is so good. So you can see that after about a half hour, I checked my rice and beans and they weren't quite cooked through. If you do need to add some more broth in, go ahead and do that. Mine took about 45 minutes to fully cook up, but the flavor in this is so incredible. I will admit that when my friend made this for me, she put the cilantro in at the beginning and then more cilantro in at the end. I did add some on top after the fact just because I did have it, but I wanted to make sure that this recipe was still good even without that cilantro in it, and it was. I'm telling you, this is worth the time, worth the effort, and it's really not a ton of effort. It's just thinking ahead and getting it together. I did serve this with some tacos that will be in an upcoming Dollar Tree video, so get ready for that because those were also absolutely fabulous. I want to thank Susie and Grandma Bertha for sharing this recipe because it is really something special. I want to thank you for watching today. Make sure to click on this next video to get some more inspiration on how to cook with a lot of love with not a lot.
For someone like you, I would watch the days go by, wasted and blue. I was out of use. Now